Hi, I am Jim and I was retired. Last week, I attempted to share the top 6 expenses in my DIY retirement. However, I encountered a slight error in my spreadsheet. In this week's video, I'll explain the error and I'll show you, oops, here are the top 6 expenses in my DIY retirement. Stay tuned. Now, I maintain a spreadsheet that tracks budgeted and actual expenses each month. And I've been keeping this spreadsheet for 7 years. And I was supposed to share with you something that looked at the 84-month averages for each of those categories. Now, one sharp viewer, Brad K., challenged the property tax figures that I shared, and indeed, they were approximately 3 times higher than the actual monthly average. Upon reviewing the average figures with the annual totals, I realized that averaging quarterly payments over several years without having all the actual figures in there, including the zeros in the months you don't make quarterly payments, can lead to a significant error. So I went back and I added zeros to all of the months between the quarterly tax payments. And lo and behold, when you do an average of that row, you get a more accurate figure that decreased to about 9% of the monthly average expenses instead of the previously reported 19%. One of the challenges with a DIY spreadsheet is the need to ensure that your numbers and formulas are accurate. And I want to thank Brad K. for pointing out my mistake and helping me to fix it. And that's one of the reasons why I left last week's video up and add this one to explain it. Hey, before I go any further, will you please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share this video with other DIY retirees if you like entertaining ideas from one DIY retiree to another. Now, here is the pie chart that corrects the monthly figures. I had to change not only the quarterly payment, but a couple others. And again, when you do that, some of the math changes. So that first category includes home expenses, utilities, home repair, home insurance, and property taxes, which come in at 9%, not 19. That brings house to 24% of the monthly average budget. Now, the next category was auto expenses, where I put the auto, fuel, service, auto insurance, and I included other travel-related expenses in that slice of the pie. And auto came in at 8% of the monthly average figures. The third category was food expenses. Food inside the house is groceries, and food outside the home is dining in my categories. And that came in at 15% of the monthly budget. And the fourth category was medical insurance and copays. And so health came in at 16% of the monthly averages. And then the fifth category was taxes, and this is income taxes. It includes mostly federal taxes. There are some sliver of state income taxes there. Property taxes over there in the house category. Taxes came in at 10%. And then finally, the final quarter is everything else. Other came in at 25% of the monthly averages in the new math, correcting for my past errors. Now, these long-term averages aligned with the yearly totals for the past 2 years and this year's budget. And so I feel confident about these numbers. Now, in some years, house may account for a larger share of your monthly expenses, especially if you're installing a new sewer line that year, or we plan to replace the roof this year. However, on average, house expenses have been tracking around a quarter of the average expenses. Auto travel expenses account for approximately 8%. Food averages around that 15%, depending upon if you were traveling or not traveling, by the way. Health expenses have been running about 16%. I hope to see that lower when we're both on Medicare. Taxes were about 10% of these past few years. And again, that may go up as we do more Roth conversions once we're both on Medicare. The remaining quarter of the budget is the other category. And as I explained last week, that's the area you need to focus in on and make sure it doesn't get too much budget creep. Now, another way that I use the budget spreadsheet is that I calculate the personal inflation rate by comparing total expenses for the current year with the total expenses for the previous year. Now, since some of the total expenses include federal taxes that you're choosing to take tax deferred income this year, it's your decision in a DIY retirement. I also track that blue line, which uses expenses minus federal taxes. Now, this line still depends on general inflation as well as the decisions in your DIY retirement, such as taking more deferred income in a given year and spending it on, say, replacing a sewer line. So while we're concerned about the general inflation rate, which add into these numbers, we really need to focus on our personal inflation rate. Inflation is a monetary phenomenon, but personal inflation, like personal finance, is personal. Hey, by the way, I've included a sample budget sheet that masked my real numbers, but loaded that up to my Google Sites if you'd like to use that as a sample template for your own budgeting. It includes the calculation for the personal inflation rate. So when you go to I Was Retired, go to Resources and Spreadsheets, and you'll go to the page where I have put that sample budget in numbers version as a zip file or as the converted to Excel, which again, if you open up this, you'll need to watch. When you open this, you'll need to open it up with your Google Sheets. And then remember that it's view only, so make a copy onto your Google Drive, and then you'll be able to use it. And again, you could also download it here as an Excel spreadsheet without editing up here. You'll pull it down to your laptop where you can use it. I will conclude with a standard warning. I have no initials after my name, so take these as entertaining ideas from one educated consumer to another. Always do your own due diligence and seek out a professional if you need one.